Hello everybody, Maven here, and why did nobody tell me how crazy the Radiant Dance Machines were in the Edge of Fate? Y'all are out here requesting all types of builds in my comment section. I would say I read like 90% of the comments, and I have not seen one requesting Radiant Dance Machines in the Edge of Fate. And what these things do now is actually crazy. Outside of like Heat Rise's Warlock builds, I never thought I'd see the day where there was another build that spent like a majority of its time airborne. And out of all things, it happened to be Hunter this time. It's the old helicopter build. Some of you guys might remember it. The newer players probably don't know what I'm talking about. But back in episode Revenant, I think it was, the Radiant Dance Machines were kind of broken and would allow you to essentially have infinite ascensions. So you could just like helicopter, helicopter, helicopter nonstop. And that same concept is essentially back. It's not as spammable to the point of before, but it's still extremely spammable. Like you get nearly infinite ascensions, infinite like powered melees, and it's just super good at survivability. So let me show you what it's capable of. Hope you enjoy. Shout out to our sponsor, Advanced GG, the #1 gaming supplement in the world. Use code MAVEN at checkout for 10% off. Link down below. Thank you. All right, so let's check out the Radiant Dance Machines. So apparently they have had this effect since the beginning of last season, and they were broken in the Crucible. Like literally everybody was like running hip fire builds, but they nerfed it like midway through. But I never heard anybody talk about this thing for PvE. So moderately increases the airborne effectiveness and hip fire, mobility, range, accuracy. We don't care about that. We care about the second ability, Final Blows with primary ammo weapons return dodge energy, which can overflow to create additional dodge charges. All right, so allow me to demonstrate here against some trash mob red bars. So I'm gonna waste my dodge and then I'm gonna get a kill. And you can see that every time I get a kill, it gives me a third of my dodge energy refunded. But when I have a dodge charge available and I get kills, it's going to tick up this invisible meter in the background you can't see. And again, when I get 3 kills, I'm going to get a dodge charge that's going to be added onto my HUD. And now it's like overflowed into multiple charges. And I can do the same thing and get up to 3 dodge charges in the banks. Now doing that same test here against elite enemies, the orange bars, and you can see that when I get a kill, it's going to fully refund my dodge charge, and it only takes a single kill also to overflow those dodge charges. That's insane. You know, like probably 40% of ads in the game are red bars. Like everything else is just going to be 1 kill with the primary is going to fully give you a dodge charge. Like it's kind of gnarly. And that is going to allow you to do this, like what you see here in this test against these hyper tanky yellow bar Vex Wyverns. So with my 3 dodge charges, I can have 3 ascensions. And since I have Gambler's Dodge equipped, every time I use Ascension, it is going to give me back my melee charge, so I can like throw a needle in the air, Ascension, and then throw a needle in the air, Ascension, and just repeat that and keep helicoptering. And you can also see that every time I go for an Ascension, I get like a massive overshield because I have like over 170 points invested into my class ability stat, which is going to grant you an overshield for every point you have invested over 100. So that's where a lot of our survivability comes from, in addition to Stylish Executioner just making us invisible every time we get a kill, because everything's going to be tagged by either the Jolt from the Ascension, or the Sever from our Threaded Spike, or the Unravel from our primary weapon of choice here, which is going to be the Final Warning. I thought long and hard about my options, about like which primary weapon would hit the hardest and be the most effective in the air, and ain't nobody going to use the Manticore, so Final Warning is what I ended up on. Before the Barrow Dyad came out, the Final Warning was the highest DPS primary ammo weapon in the game, but it did just receive a 7% damage buff in the Edge of Fate, so we might have to do like a retest to see if it's back on top. But needless to say, this weapon is incredible. It hits like a truck and it's great while airborne, synergizes very well with all the helicoptering that we're doing. Like it's exactly what we want for this build. Like while you're in the air, like you don't even have to aim or worry about airborne effectiveness, because you just hip fire, and as soon as your red reticle locks onto a target, you just let go and start spam firing your trigger. Like this is a weapon that has like a huge learning curve. Like there are people who have played for years and still don't know how to use the Final Warning. It's like you don't have to fully charge it. It's just when that reticle becomes red, you can let go and just start tap firing your trigger and dumping like almost your entire mag, and it'll still get the tracking out of it. The only time we're gonna go for that aim down sights high precision damage mode is when we are on the ground, which is not going to be too often. We're going to use that when we're dealing with fatter targets, and you're going to see a lot in the background gameplay. When I deal with champions, I'll use that mode. but most of the time we're just going to be like hip firing in the air because that's what this weapon is the best at. And it also can like hit around corners. If you lock onto a target and dip around a corner, you can just like fire and it'll track around a corner. So it's also great for like high-end content because that's like a great way of survival, just dipping out of cover like that. And you might see some of that in the background gameplay. Like I did a solo Grandmaster under power and just completely breezed through it without dying and did it really fast because this build is a beast. It just keeps on spamming. It just keeps on getting over shields. It just does so much damage because Final Warning hits like a truck. And it also synergizes very, very well with a particular artifact mod we have right now. And that's Tangled Web. This says creating a tangle by defeating a strand debuff target suspends nearby combatants. And you might have seen that done in the background gameplay when I stunned some unstoppable champions with it. This thing is really, really good right now. It procs off of our grapple punches, it procs off of our threaded spikes, and it procs off of Final Warning because Final Warning also says that when you fully charge it, it unravels combatants, and when you kill an unravel combatant, it makes a tangle. So the synergy here is just incredible for like ad clear. And that's just another thing that's also feeding into Stylish Executioner just to make double sure that every single kill that we get is going to make us invisible. And finally, the Threaded Blast artifact mod is going to be another thing that synergizes perfectly with the Final Warning because it is like the only weapon in the game that can create a tangle on its own on the spot instantly. And then you can just destroy that tangle, and Threaded Blast is going to basically turn that tangle explosion into like a nuke that does so much damage and has a very large radius. So the build has basically been explained, so now let's go over the rest of our subclass here. For our fragments, we got Faceted Blessing, so melee final blow, start health regeneration. Obviously, at the rate we're spamming spikes, that's going to be proccing left and right. Not sure we even need this because we already get like overshields when we use our Ascension, but it's up to you. You can replace it if you want. And you could also use the Stasis Shurikens instead of spikes if you wanted to. That's a great melee as well, and it's even more spammable. I just feel like the spikes are a little bit stronger. And then we have Faceted Protection for a 15% resist when we are surrounded, which is going to happen a lot with this build. And then we have Faceted Purpose to get overshields when we pick up Orbs of Power because we have a Void Super. Although now that I think about it, I'm just realizing like right now live during this recording that it'd make a lot more sense to go with the Strand Super so you can get Woven Mail when you grab orbs. So I'm definitely going to swap that over and update the dim loadout. And finally, we got Facet of Dawn. So our powered melee hits are making us radiant. Safe to say that's going to be up pretty much at all times. And that Facet of Dawn is also going to synergize a lot with our Radiant Shrapnel artifact mod, so we can create those little solar seekers when we deal damage with the weapon while we are radiant. So that's just further adding to the insane ad clear already. And now let's take a look at our mod setup. So this is kind of just a loose setup that I just threw together. You can mess around with it if you want. This is kind of just a throw together setup, but I am running triple strand surges along with time dilation on the class item, so I can have like that 22% buff for my Final Warning, since it's like the main concept of this build is just to spam that to get dodge charges, so I want to make it as strong as possible. So we got to make orbs for that, which we can make with Siphon on our helmet, Reaper on the class item, Heavy-Handed on the gloves, and then every time we Ascension, we're proccing Powerful Attraction on our class item to scoop up the orbs around us on the floor. And also every time we Ascension, we're proccing Dynamo on our helmet for some super energy. And then we got Hands-On on the helmet for super energy because we're throwing a lot of spikes, Impact Induction to get some grapple energy back, Triple Resist on the chest, and that's about it. And then for my loadout, at least from a casual standpoint, this is what I ended up on. Final Warning, Omniscient Eye, and then like an Eager Edge Sword because I like to skate 95% of the time I play this game. But I was like, I'm lacking range and I'm lacking DPS. So what am I going to do? Throw on a sniper. I throw on the Omniscient Eye because not only does it have some great DPS rolls and give us some range, but also it synergizes with the Fever and Chill artifact mod, so it can become radiant. So it's just generally going to be stronger than other like non-solar snipers. So I think it's a good option here. And it also gives us access to Anti-Barrier Sniper, whereas the Final Warning has Unstoppable, and then Cold Steel on our sword has Overload. So that's all three champions covered right there. Now for our stats with this build, there are only two stats that matter. First of all, melee. You want your melee to be at a minimum in the high 60s. And that's going to guarantee you get your full threaded spike charge back when you go for an Ascension. Any less than 60 and you won't get a full charge back. So make sure it's around there. And then just dump the rest into as much class ability as you can possibly get. Like get it as close to 200 as you can so that every time you go for those Ascensions, you get some big, juicy overshields. And that's about it for the build. You can see the gameplay loop and just like ascensioning and then trying to like hip fire like out of it with my final warning as I hit the floor and just repeat the process, throwing spikes wherever possible. It's a pretty easy and simple loop, and it's a lot of fun, and it's very effective. Like, I was actually originally planning on recovering my God Mode Hunter build I did a couple months back with the new Edge of Fate updates. And as I was playing with that build and like I was like sidetracking, I just had the wild, wacky idea to pull Radiant Dance Machines out of my vault because like I haven't used it in a while. And then after I saw what it did, I was like, okay, I got to put this God Mode build down. I'll come back to it later. This is my priority at the moment because it was just so much fun. I could not pass up on it. So for those looking for that God Mode build, I'll cover it in the future. Just hold on a second. But yeah, this one definitely took priority. So if you'd like to give it a try, as always, the dim loadout link could be down below in the description and also the pinned comment. And if you got any buddies who are Hunter mains, I'd appreciate if you consider sharing this with them. Maybe this is something they might want to try out as well. Thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to hit the like button and drop a comment. Helps out a ton. If you are new here, please consider subscribing. Would love to have you here for more Edge of Fate content on the way. And I hope you have fun with this build because it is a blast. And I'll catch you in the next video. See you later.